The Boston Bruins had an absolutely historic season this year in the NHL, setting the record for wins in a regular season and locking up the President's Trophy with a couple of weeks remaining in the season. Is there anything the Florida Panthers can do to beat them in the first round this year? Welcome back to Edgework here on the Hammer Betting Network as we are well into our first round playoff series previews today, focusing on the Boston Bruins Florida Panthers first round matchup. Now, obviously, Boston ran away with the President's Trophy this year. They set an NHL record for wins in a single season. It has been a lock that they were going to be at the top of the Atlantic Division and pretty much at the top of the NHL for the majority of this year. Now, on the flip side, the team that they are playing, the Florida Panthers, struggled early, squeak into the playoffs, and managed to grab the last spot in the Eastern Conference wild card there, getting into the playoffs late in the season into the last couple of games. Going into this one, we're looking at a series price, Boston minus 270, a 73% implied probability, and the Florida Panthers plus 230. Now, I am lucky enough here to be joined by So Money and Alex B. Smith, and if you've been watching along on the Edgework Show, you've been following our channel, you would have seen a couple of weeks ago, we did a breakdown of some bets that kind of went sideways, and both of these gentlemen here on the screen with me suffered thanks to the Boston Bruins. So today we're going to learn if these guys learned their lesson in terms of fading the Bruins, what they might have learned about the Bruins so far this season, and how it'll apply going forward. But Alex, we'll go to you first on this. When we just look at the series price when it comes out, Boston minus 270, you just look at that overall, just the team to win this series. Do you think that this is about the right price for Boston? Did you expect it to maybe be a little bit longer, shorter? How did your initial reaction go when you first saw this price come out?
Yeah, I did think we would see Boston open up as a tad bit larger of favorites just because of how dominant they were this year. And you just look at most, even you go all the way back when we had the 1 through 8 seeds, you always saw the 1 seed, astronomically higher, usually in the $6-7 range. So this is actually a fairly cheap price considering the run that Boston has been on throughout this year. I guess there has to be some, respect that you have to give for Florida, the way that they were able to string together wins late. I think it was 7 of the last 8 games that they won to get into the playoffs. But here's the thing. Boston knew they were going to the playoffs pretty much before the All-Star break. How did they wrap up the season? They won 15 of the last 16 games. So this is a pretty short price here for the Bees.
And So Money, I mean, obviously we talked about the fact that you guys had both faded them in a way going into the season with some preseason futures. Now, we learned pretty quickly about this Bruins team and what they're capable of before guys even came back, some of the veteran guys. Now you see them close out the season the way that Alex just described there, how strong they were all year, their consistency, how good they were home and away, their ability to get things done in regulation as well. You look at this Boston price, was that something you were kind of antsy to get at as well when it first came out, even sitting at a minus 270 price?
I think it's fairly priced. I had Boston as a heavy favorite here. Obviously, I think it should be pretty straightforward. For now, I'll say I've learned my lesson about fading the Bruins, but talk to me in 2 weeks. I'll have something else up.
Yeah, that's when they come down to play against the Toronto Maple Leafs, as the juggernaut that they are, how reliable they are in the playoffs. So we'll see what happens when we get there. But I mean, we're talking about this Bruins team, how good they've been, and even just looking at the guys on this team with experience and stuff. Is there enough experience in this Bruins team to kind of just carry them through no matter what you're going to face in Florida here, Alex? Where, I mean, Florida, yeah, they were pesky. They did add a couple of guys. He did make some big changes in acquiring Matthew Tkachuk in the offseason and kind of changing up some of the dynamic there for the way that team looks. But is it just going to be too much for what Boston has throughout this series? Like, is this kind of like a runaway series for the Bruins?
It honestly is. I mean, when you look at this Florida team top to bottom, and keep in mind, this is light years away from what we saw from this club 1 year ago. Last year, we were talking about the President's Trophy winners, an offense that seemingly could not be stopped. And even though playoffs are all about defense, it seemed like, well, okay, they could run away and score 7-8 goals every night against anybody. Maybe they could do it in the postseason. That wasn't the case. They didn't get swept in the second round by Tampa Bay. Here they are now. They tried to build a team that is playoff ready, right? You bring in Paul Maurice, be more responsible in the neutral zone, be more responsible in your own end. But the personnel just hasn't been able to keep up with that on that defensive mark. So now you've taken away the offensive punch. Of course, the deals that were made with Florida and Calgary at the beginning of the year didn't help either. You're taking time to get things gelled in that situation. But then also you're struggling on the back end. I mean, here we are talking about Alex Lyon, an AHL journeyman, being the best option for the Florida Panthers to start. And then you're talking about what you have to go up against in the Boston Bruins. Loaded offense. I mean, you can think of 8 or 9 guys right off the bat that could give you consistent goals. Linus Olmark having an absolute tremendous season. Now, he did go down with a little bit of a minor injury, but they're saying he should be fine and ready for game one. And even if he wasn't, Jeremy Swayman having an incredible year as well as a backup. So this Boston team, I mean, they just match up, and they have the green check mark at every intangible I can think of, honestly, in the series.
Yeah, and I mean, they give us a pretty good idea of how it's projected to go for this series. When you look at the odds that were given by the odds makers here, you're looking even at Boston -1.5, -142 on that. Like, to win by a spread of 2 games or more for Boston, it's kind of projecting to go in that direction. So, is there any way you find value in other aspects, other markets of this series, other ways that you could bet this one? I think both you and Alex are kind of on a similar page in terms of, hey, Boston is going to heavily outmatch Florida here. Even looking at the goaltending matchup, looking at depth, just those little pieces that you have for Boston going up against Florida. Outside of just Boston to win the series, is there anything that's kind of caught your eye at this point of, hey, that might be enticing to get behind with a bet for a series spread?
I mean, you even look at Boston to sweep, and it's only like plus 475 or plus
Yeah.
500, right? Like, I would want more than that if I'm betting a team to win 4 straight. So, no, I don't see anything with Boston. It just really bugs me with this Bruins team. It's bad enough talking about the Bruins who are in the playoffs, and now like we're talking about a juggernaut team that's either gonna make me look like a genius in a couple of weeks, or they're gonna just continuing just like taking my money. So I just I just want to get through this series with them, and then we'll see against Toronto.
Alex, is there anything for you that you look at for a series spread that might be enticing?
Well, I mean, you could take the shot with 2.5 if you're getting a plus price. I mean, you're seeing 1.5 -140, 145. I wouldn't go with that. Honestly, I would go with, sweep and 4. I got plus 500 this morning. That's what I like, and that's something I felt strong about. I mean, I said it a couple weeks ago. We were all sitting here talking. I said this is a Boston team that if they run the table, I could easily see them losing, 5 games or less throughout the entire way.
Right.
So, clean sweep here. That it just makes a lot of sense. I think this will be the easiest of series they face in the next 4 rounds potentially.
Okay, so it seems pretty clear now, and I think everyone's going to be kind of on the same page. Yeah, Boston win this series. Okay, and then you're going to look beyond that. Well, you likely win by a couple of games, 2, 3, maybe sweep the series here against the Florida Panthers in the first round. But let's maybe play devil's advocate here. So, Money, you look at this Boston team. Is there any concerns for you? I mean, the answer can be no, and I'm going to ask both of you. So the answer can be no, but you go up against Florida, like looking at this matchup specifically, you look at Boston. Are there concerns? Is there anything potentially to be concerned about?
Yeah, I mean, there's always need for concern in the playoffs. You have a Boston team that hasn't played a serious game in I don't know how many months, right? And then
Yeah,
now you all of a sudden have to turn it on to play playoff style hockey. Can Florida provide that playoff style hockey? Are they equipped to do that? I'm not sure, right? And then you're also in a situation where if you're Boston, you know that you're the better team. You're clearly the better team. So you go into the series sometimes thinking that, well, we can beat them in any style. So yes, we do need to start. Our DNA is that we're a strong structurally defensive team, but I mean, if they want to play open, like let's try to outscore them, right? And like I think that's where these elite teams can start getting into trouble if they deviate away from who they are, right? And if
right.
if it's in a situation where Florida wants to go up and down, and Boston's like, all right, we'll beat you going up and down. Well, I mean, now in like a 6-5, 5-4 game, like anything can happen, right? So I think if there's a concern, it would be um, um, it would be on Boston's part if they if they decide for whatever reason that that they're going to deviate from who they are.
Yeah, Alex, concerns for you for the Bruins?
None. And here's the thing: I get what so many saying about they haven't played any meaningful games, but here's the thing: they didn't rest. They didn't take
Yeah,
time off. You saw David Pastrnak trying to go for as many goals as possible. You saw Linus Olmark
Yeah.
vocally saying he wanted to go for the Bruins win record. They wanted to get the points record and the all-time wins record. And I think in doing that, they're also keeping in their head, hey, let's not have happen to us what happened in 2019, the Tampa Bay Lightning, or 1996 with the Detroit Red Wings. We got to be the best team. If we, what's the whole saying? It says, don't talk about it, be about it. They want to be about it right now and move forward and win a Stanley Cup. Having the best, regular season in history means nothing if you don't have the Stanley Cup in your hands at the end of the summer. So I think they're firmly focused. And this Florida team, they have, can they for them to seal a game in Boston, they have to come out hot in the first period of game one. If you really feel Florida's even going to have a puncher's chance, that's probably your bet to look at. Florida first period on the road because they have to try to establish that tempo and dominance. But here's the thing: if they want to try to get into a firefight with the Bruins, it won't be a 6-5 game. It'll probably be a 10-7 game in favor of the Bruins. They just don't have the offensive horses like last year to keep up in that kind of a pace.
Okay, so I'm interested to hear. We kind of lean obviously towards, hey, the Bruins have minimal holes that way, and we've seen before where teams who have had historic seasons kind of falter when it gets to the playoffs. As someone said, hey, there's a variance, there's things that can go wrong. Well, a lot of that is going to have to do with kind of the way the other team plays, how they come out, how they're prepared, they're built for things, and maybe they could shock you a little bit, and then you get up ahead, and now all of a sudden the other team starts reeling a little bit, gets into an uncomfortable spot that maybe they haven't seen throughout the regular season. But if you're going to look at Florida here, if they're going to have any shot to win so money, is there an X factor for this Panthers team? Is there something that they can do that might be not accounted for, I guess, that could potentially raise them above the Bruins and give them an opportunity to beat them here in the first round?
probably Alex Lyon struggling early, Bobrovsky coming in, and him finding his form,
Okay.
his previous playoff pedigree.
Yeah.
I think I'm not confident in that, but I think that that's the only way that Florida has a chance here, is with a really, really hot Bobrovsky, and I don't know if that's going to happen.
It's a little NHL playoff history. Sergei Bobrovsky was one of the two goalies involved in one of the highest scoring rounds in NHL history. It was the old Pittsburgh and Philadelphia series. So asking him to get hot in the playoffs is something he hasn't really been able to do in his career.
Well, we saw him against in that Tampa Bay series as well, right? Like
Yeah.
that run they had against Tampa Bay and into that Boston series as well. The series where was personally painful for me because I felt Columbus should have won that series. But I mean, we've seen Bobrovsky in the past do that, right?
Yeah.
It's very low probability, but there's low chances that Florida can do anything here, anyways.
Are there any X factors for you, Alex, that might be able to swing things in Florida's favor?
Well, I mean, that is an interesting thing to point out, though, that Bobrovsky was on the team that upset at that time the best regular season team in the NHL history. I'm
Yeah.
sure ESPN and TNT will probably bring that up as well. So it's a great catch by you, so many. But I don't know if that's going to really help factors too much. Like I said, Alex Lyon, and keep in mind, as a Chicago Wolves fan, I watched Alex Lyon play a couple of playoff games last year when Pyotr Kochetkov had get called up for Carolina in that series against Boston. He's a capable goalie. He's been putting together some hot runs. It's arguably the best he's played in his career right now. So you are at least getting the best of your backup reserve goaltender. You can't ask for anything more than that because you wouldn't want it where, he's on the team, but you're relying on Bobrovsky being the veteran and he's struggling leading into the playoffs. That would be a disaster situation. So the bright spot is Alex Lyon. He has been playing hot enough to where, having great goaltending in a best of 7 series is always key. Their chances, like I said, they lie in getting ultimately game 1 in hand. That's really their only chance. If they lose game 1 in the fashion I think they will, it'll just be frustrating.
Okay, let's get into our favorite bets of the series here. So, whether it be just something you find a value in, it could be a series spread, just the outright price for Bruins Panthers to win the series, or if it is maybe a player to lead the series in goals or lead in points. Alex, is there a favorite bet that you have in this one? Your favorite way to play this series?
Yeah, Boston 4-0 at plus 500. That's the way I'm rolling with this one. Like I said, I'll have a couple individual plays sandwiched in between there. I can tell you now, Game 3, I would be looking at Florida on that first period puck line, because that has to be, if they're going to try and shift momentum or tone, no matter how Game 1 and 2 is, you got to establish that dominance at home. So that's something I like to look for. Even though I feel like this will be a sweep, doesn't mean that Florida can't come out with a 1-0, 2-0 lead in Game 3. At the beginning of that first period, that contest. So overall, my favorite bet is going to be Bruins sweep at plus 500.
Is there a price that you would play that to if it kind of dipped below 500?
I mean, if you start getting below 400, I would stay away from it, because essentially at that point you're talking about you just betting even money on every game, which you're not going to get plus 100 betting the Bruins at anything. Even if they were down 3-0, you probably wouldn't get even money on them. So that's the way I kind of look at it, is that instead of trying to lay 250 in 4 games, I'm just betting plus 105 for each contest.
Okay, fair enough. And so, money, a favorite bet for you in this one?
I think the only way to look in this series would be Boston in 4. I think that if that number improves a bit, then maybe that's where you go. I was also sitting there trying to make a case for maybe there's a number on Florida that things get out of hand for Boston, and then I sit back and I think that there's so many low probability events that need to go in my favor for me to win a Florida bet on a series. So I'd be better off waiting on a game by game basis to see how this series is going, and bet Florida that way if I feel that things are getting out of hand. So yeah, I can't really make a case for getting cute with Florida. So I think Boston 4-0 is probably the way to go. But I would need a better number though. Um, I need at least plus 510, plus 515 on that.
All right. Well, I think I know where this is going here. We're going to wrap up with series predictions. I have a pretty good idea what you guys might say. Alex, I'll go to you first. Betting aside, numbers aside, give me a Bruins Panthers first round prediction.
Let's say this. All right. Bruins with win by margin in Game 1. Bruins win in overtime Game 2. Panthers come out a little hot in Game 3, eventually blow the lead, lose Game 3, and then they get crushed in Game 4.
Okay.
4-0 sweep for the Bruins.
All right, I like it. I like the breakdown there. So, money prediction for you in this series?
Yeah, Bruins in 3.
Nice.
Okay, I'm gonna go Bruins in 6.
Okay.
I know it's off the beaten path there of that one, but look, I think the Bruins take this one. I just think that there's a possibility of the Panthers squeaking one out, and then they kind of get a little bit of life. Maybe they find a way to get another win in there, and then Boston just shuts it down and snuffs that one out. I think the Panthers team does have some fight in them. I think that they are a little bit pesky. Look, I think that the Bruins will handle them pretty well, but I think that there's an opportunity here, and I do think that there is something to So Money's thought of Bobrovsky coming in, and if you like, we're going down the path of Alex predicting games here. I think that there's an opportunity for Alex Lyon to maybe get blown out and then have Bob come in, and all of a sudden he comes in with a little bit of fire, a little bit of life, and say, all right, I could do something here. Not win the series, in my opinion, but steal a game, 2 games here. I think that that's a possibility. So I think you maybe give a little bit more of a fighter's chance to the Panthers just to get some wins against the Bruins. I know that I might look like an idiot after this one, but didn't want to just clean this one out on 4-0. So I'll go Bruins in 6. That's my prediction, but we'll see how that goes. Thank you to everyone who tuned in here today, watched the show. Hopefully you enjoyed the breakdowns. If you see value in anything that we gave out here as bets or the way that we broke down this series, please make sure to let us know in the comments below, as well as liking this video, subscribing to the Edgework HQ YouTube channel here. We will have more series previews and predictions coming out as well. We will continue the live show through the course of the playoffs, doing daily picks and previews of the games that are coming up that night, so you won't want to miss that, as we do go game by game basis at that point, and not just these series previews ahead of time. And if you disagree with anything said here today, please make sure to let us know in the comments, and especially if you think I'm an idiot for this Bruins in 6, let me hear it in the comments below. Give me your thoughts in the comments below. But thank you to everyone who tuned in. Alex, So Money, thank you guys so much for taking the time to do this. I'll see you guys for some other series previews, and to everyone else, enjoy the playoffs and good luck on your bets.